here at Pathway Innovations. Just a reminder that you can chat in your questions and comments here. You can also, at any time, subscribe to get updates on our next live stream that will launch. So this is a really kind of special interview for me. Carl and I recently met when we started talking about him using eGlass, but for many years we kind of overlapped in a world of CrossFit and fitness. And he's going to open it up to you here in just a second, Carl. And I want you to tell us about your background in education and fitness and your training as a kinesiologist. But first, I just want to say welcome to the Help Learning live stream. Thanks so much for joining us. And yeah, if you could just kind of start us off by telling us about the man behind Whiteboard Daily. So many of the people in my circles know Whiteboard Daily. I've recently gotten to put a face and a personality to the amazing content you've been putting out for years. So I just want you to kind of take it away for a little bit and brag on yourself.
Yeah, man, Luke, I appreciate that very much. And it has been fun to get to know you and work with you. Gosh, I guess just maybe within the past couple of weeks or so. It hasn't been too long at all. And things have really even evolved since we first met up. So yeah, I'll just kind of get into it if you don't mind. I can kind of tell you a bit about myself and some of the background. My name's Carl Eagleman, and I'm from Indiana, originally from Brown County, Indiana. And I always kind of grew up in a athletic household. Well, sports were always a big part of my life. I'll definitely say that. And I'm 6'7", so I'm taller. And when you're tall and you live in Indiana, you play basketball. That's just what you do. Really, if you're any height, you're going to play basketball. Basketball is such a big sport in this state. So I played basketball all through, in other sports, but basketball was the main sport that I played all through my high school career. And I ended up getting a full ride to go down to Bellarmine University down Louisville, Kentucky, and played 4 years for Bellarmine. Got a communications degree while I was doing that, and then finished up, did a few marketing jobs here and there, but always kind of felt like I enjoyed being in front of people and talking and communicating, hence the degree, but I really enjoyed teaching movements. And so I decided to go back to school, and Brown County is right next to Bloomington. So I went back and I got my teaching certification from Indiana University in physical education. And once I finished that, I ended up working for a nonprofit for a little bit, but I ended up landing a teaching job out in Oakland, California. And I guess it was East Oakland. But regardless, it was kind of a rough area, but man, it was a great experience because I was able to put all the things that I had learned from theory into practice, and learned a lot about communication. And it's kind of funny because now that I look back on it, and even back then, a big part of my teaching others was with a whiteboard. And in Oakland, California, it's different in Indiana or any other place where it snows a lot. In California, there's a lot of like outdoors parts to a school. Like, you know, you might have your lockers outside. You might have the hallways are kind of like outside. And for PE, much of the classes were outside. And I wanted to be able to communicate to a large group, my class. Sometimes there's 35, 40 kids in one class. And so in order to communicate what we're going to be doing that day, I would use a whiteboard. I would carry it out to the field or the yard each day with the daily quote and kind of a rundown of the things we're going to be doing. So using the whiteboard has always been a big, I guess, kind of a part of my method or a part of my a medium that I use to communicate. So anyway, I taught for a little bit, and it was also at that time where I was starting to really get into CrossFit. And this is back in like 2007, 2008 or so. And I started getting into CrossFit. Long story short, I got my level 1 certification and started to really kind of get more into that culture. I just enjoyed learning about all the different movements that are in CrossFit. And if you don't know much about it, the definition of CrossFit is constantly varied functional movement performed at a relative high intensity. And the constantly varied part, it means that you're always doing something different. There's Olympic weightlifting, there's rowing, there's running, there are gymnastic movements, there are so many different things that you do. And I really enjoyed learning about all the different movements that go into CrossFit. And really, it's almost countless how many movements you might do. Anyway, long story short, I ended up moving to New Zealand for 2 years. And really, I don't want to talk too much, but I kind of want to give you the highlights here. It was in New Zealand, and this was 2013 and 2014. That's when I started to coach. That's when I started to coach CrossFit at a local CrossFit affiliate there called CrossFit Mana. I was living in Palmerston North at the time. I loved it, having a great time out there. But it was the first time when I could actually really start to coach CrossFit in front of people and use everything that I've learned up until that point to actually carry through and demonstrate and try to use coaching cues to help people understand movement. And that really just fulfilled a big desire inside of me to help other people improve their quality of life through movement. Ended up moving back to the States in 2015. 2015. And since then, I've been a coach at a few other different affiliates. I'm not coaching anymore because now I'm doing full-time Whiteboard Daily. And in 2017 is when I first started Whiteboard Daily with just a whiteboard and markers. And it's just all these ideas that I had in my head that I wanted to share with other people. I started putting them on a whiteboard, and every single day I would just share something new. And it's grown to what it is today. And it's just been such a fun, fulfilling ride so far. And I feel like I'm just getting started too.
Hey, you mentioned coaching cues. And I know that every sort of educator, teacher of any discipline, movement, all the academic areas, they use cues. They may not even know that they're using cues. But can you draw us an example of, I don't want to put you on the spot because we didn't talk about what you might be drawing, but just something that, a cue for some sort of physical movement that may be, easily relatable to any educator, presenter, trainer, that they might be able to make that kind of application in their world.
Absolutely. I got my ruler here. This is the same ruler that I've used for the past 3 years, and I can easily draw something right now for you. I love drawing, and so asking me to draw anything is it's no big deal at all. I will kind of give you some tips or pointers along the way. How's it showing up? Is that showing up okay for you guys?
Yeah, don't forget to depress your tip a few times, and
okay,
as you get going.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's coming through. Okay, so I always start every single drawing whenever I'm doing maybe kettlebells or Olympic weightlifting or whatever. You have to have a point of reference. You can't just be drawing some stick figure out in the air. You have to, because that way it's hard to communicate exactly what's going on with somebody just floating out in space. And so I always start with the ground, and I always start with, it's normally the frontal plane, and the frontal plane is a vertical line that goes straight. I've been using the yellow so much that most wore it down. It's a vertical plane that it kind of bisects the body, and that helps me kind of communicate where the line of gravity is. The cue that I'm going to write for you, this is one cue that has actually been tattooed on people before. That's another thing too. I mean, talk about culture. There's been the culture that is within CrossFit is just incredible. And then to see that people are actually tattooing the things that I draw on them, it's really amazing. So anyway, the cue is,
hey, Carl, I'm going to interrupt you for a second.
Of course.
Go ahead and stand that yellow marker up, tip down for the next couple minutes.
Yeah. I know.
Put it in a glass.
I'm usually just storing them, just laying on my desk.
Oh, you definitely need to store them vertically.
Yeah, that helps out a lot. So anyway, the cue is when the arms bend,
I know the rest of this.
You know the rest of this.
The power ends.
Yeah, the power ends. And this is a cue that I've learned from Coach Bergner, who is he's an Olympic weightlifting coach, but also coached the national team. He's a friend of mine. Actually, I feel like it's kind of crazy. I can actually text him and ask him for advice here and there. But he's the one, in my perspective, that kind of came up with this. Other people may have come up with this. I learned it from him. So it's when the arms bend, the power ends. The idea is that when you are doing a clean, and again, whenever I'm drawing, I start from the bottom, or a snatch, whenever you're lifting anything off the ground, and we'll have somebody in this power position here. And there's the hips down there. So if I am doing a clean and I start to bend my arms right here, all of the power now is going into my arms, or all the weight of the bar is going into my arms. And I want to keep the bar, I want to keep the weight in the major muscle groups of my body. I want to keep it in that loaded posterior chain and the rest of my body. And to do that, I just keep my arms long like straps, or like, where's my one? Where is it? Oh, here we go. Check this out. This is also another thing that I always do. Whenever I'm drawing Olympic weightlifting, people are like, how in the world do you get those circles so clean? I'm like, well, I trace them. So hopefully between the two, you can see that this guy's got his arms bent, and then this guy, he's got everything loaded in his posterior chain and through his core. Okay, so the idea there is when the arms bend, the power ends. And so to be able to draw that up and demonstrate that for somebody, it really goes a long way, rather than just like saying it. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's no golden cue, and there's also no golden method for providing a cue to an athlete. So some people respond visually, some people respond tactilely, some people respond audibly, some people respond by visually seeing somebody else do it. But as a coach, you always want to provide as many different tools, or you want to have as many different tools to deliver a cue as you possibly can. So drawing it out really helps there. That's
awesome. Hey, I had a question come to me as I was kind of preparing for this. I saw a comment on one of your posts about how simple stick figures seem until you try to do something and keep the anatomy correct and the proportions correct.
Yeah.
Have you always been an artist? Is that something that was developed after you kind of started, in 2016, 17, getting into this? Tell me a little bit about your artistic background, because you're definitely an artist now.
Definitely. I never thought that I would be like a full-time artist, but I feel like I'm a full-time artist and a full-time coach. It's a really cool feeling. Yeah, art has always been a big part of my life, especially my mom. Growing up, I'm the oldest of three brothers, and she always highly encouraged us to express ourselves with art. There's always crayons and paint and paper and pens and pencils, like always at our disposal. And even like rather than going to the store to buy a greeting card, my mom and my parents, they always encouraged us to like, hey, let's just make a card for grandma or something like that. And so art was always a big part of my life. My brother is he's an industrial designer, and he does a different kind of art, but it's the same idea where you're taking this concept in your head and you're translating it through your hand onto paper or an eGlass to help other people understand what you're talking about or what you're thinking about. So as time has gone by, I mean, I go back, I look at the drawings of when I first started 3-4 years ago, and I'm like, I mean, they look to me pretty archaic and juvenile. I'm like, man, I need to redraw a lot of these because I know that I've gotten better over the years. So I'm even like doing this, like whipping that up right now. I'm just like so glad that I'm actually at the point where I can just like put something up on a board and it looks halfway decent.
That's great. What are some of the changes? What are some of the differences you've experienced just in the last couple of weeks between? And I don't think it's a better or worse thing. It's just eGlass is a different medium. It allows you to do what you do a little differently than posting a static image on the whiteboard. But so what have been some of the challenges, maybe kind of evolving from working out your post and then posting that static image to now you're still doing the static snapshots of your whiteboard activity, but then also doing these videos kind of in real time. Just talk about some of the challenges, and also, you know, some of the things that you're enjoying about how you're doing this work on eGlass.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. So it's been, there's so much to kind of go on here. The best way I think for me to answer that question is to look at it from an entrepreneurial or business development side. To me, Whiteboard Daily has become a brand and has a certain look, and it's actually at the point with me where I've gone through and successfully filed applications for trademarking Whiteboard Daily and WBD, because I want this to be around for a very long time. I feel like this is a legacy thing to me. And when you're building a brand, you always want to kind of start from the ground up and look for the lowest hanging fruit and build your way up, and evolve and get better. A year ago, if you and I met and you came to me with the idea of like, hey, I have this really cool tool that you can use. To be honest, I'm not sure if I would have been ready a year ago. And it's taken me a year to practice my craft and get better and better, so that I can actually talk to the camera and describe what I'm drawing while I'm drawing, and actually it be entertaining for people, rather than me like drawing, erasing. I mean, now I can actually have a flow. People can start to learn more about my personality. I can add a personality and a face and a name to my brand, it's a pretty cool feeling, because up until, I mean, really, I don't know. I mean, within the first 2 years of Whiteboard Daily, it was just whiteboard drawings. That's all it was. And so I think after a year and a half of me actually having that account is when I actually came out and I was like, hey, my name's Carl Eagleman. I'm drawing everything. But now people can see these videos, and it also provides me with another level of coaching. Now it's not just through drawings. It's me through actually talking things out. And now it's like another craft that I work on with communicating through the verbal communication. So I'm so happy to have this tool to use. It's awesome.
Well, like you mentioned, this is a brand new relationship. It's a brand new medium for you to kind of evolve your craft. So excited to see what you'll be doing with your YouTube channel. Could you go ahead and jot up your main social channels on the screen?
Yeah,
I'm sure we'll link them also, but you know, you've got close to 300,000 followers, maybe over, I can't remember, on Instagram.
No, it's 277,000 to be exact. But who's counting?
I mean, I count. I've been counting my decline of followers over the last year since I stopped posting. But we count, and it's okay. You can count. And what is Whiteboard_Daily also your YouTube channel?
Yeah. If you search Whiteboard Daily on YouTube, it'll come right up. And I'm in every single video that I've posted. Instagram is on every single eGlass that I've posted on Instagram is also on YouTube. So that's the easiest way to do it. Just Whiteboard Daily. Thankfully, it's a unique name, and there aren't many out there. I guess actually there are fake accounts that are trying to capitalize on people, but we won't go into that right now.
Well, we will definitely be having you back if you'll come back. Thank you so much, Carl, for joining us.
Hey, Luke, it's been an honor just like getting to know you. And again, thank you so much to the whole eGlass team for providing me with this tool, and so I can showcase what it does. And again, add another element to Whiteboard Daily that I think a lot of people appreciate. So thank you so much.
Yeah, well, your community definitely appreciates you. It'll just keep growing. And I appreciate you. Hey, thanks so much for tuning in to Help Learning Livestream this week. Remember to go ahead and subscribe to the alerts through your favorite social channels. We'll be here next week, same time, Tuesday, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern. On restreams of this show, you can continue to ask questions and make comments, and we'll address those as we go. So
yeah.
Thanks again. See y'all next week.